Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
First Samuel chapter 17. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shoco, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shoco and Azekah in Ephas Dammim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together, and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them.
Look what has happened to the great Nile River.
Great Zeus! It's dried up like a fig. The necklace of Osiris?
I'm sure of it. Let's take a look upriver.
As far as the eye can see, nothing but dry riverbed.
Wait, listen.
It sounds like running water. Isis! How can this be?
It's as if the waters were held back by an invisible dam.
This is surely the work of a very powerful wizard.
A wizard who has stolen the necklace of Osiris. Come.
It's some kind of farm, and they've stolen the river to irrigate it. They will not get away with this.
Wait, King Ross. We don't know what's down there. It could be dangerous.
Isis is right. You stick with her. I'll circle around the other side and meet you below.
Right, Herc. I've never seen plants like this before. There's something very creepy about them.
Isis, look out!
Hey, let go!
Steady, Isis.
No, stay back, or they'll get you too! Winter winds and chilling frost freeze these plants.
Don't worry, Isis. I'll find Hercules.
So here is the missing necklace of Osiris.
That's right, Isis. Welcome to my valley.
Before I take back what is rightfully mine, who are you?
I am Toth, Lord of the Plant Soldiers, soon to be master of the entire Nile Valley.
So what does this have to do with aliens? So Sam Harris, who I quite admire, is a very interesting guy, was reciting this parable at a TED Talk that he was giving, and it goes something like this. So, say I'm the President of the United States. So I receive this message from the heavens. So my microwave dish, my SETI dish, finally captures something. And what it says is, in 50 years, or 13 years, we're coming to your planet. You got to be ready. Now just imagine what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens, it's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now,
and these things that we're summoning into the world now
are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.
Who are you?
I am Toth, Lord of the Plant Soldiers, soon to be master of the entire Nile Valley.
But the lower valley is dying from lack of water.
Ah, yes, the water necessary to turn these seeds into a mighty army.
We're not just users, we're cult leaders, training our digital god through every click, every lie, every moment of cruelty. And like any deity, it will reflect its creators.
Once I harvest my crop of plant soldiers and we conquer the lower valley, I will return the waters to their natural course.
How generous of you.
A sorcerer of my skill can afford to be generous.
Your greatest skill is as a thief, Toth. Your power to steal the waters of the Nile comes from the necklace of Osiris, which you stole from us.
Silence! Let's see how powerful you are, Isis, cut off from the natural forces of Earth. And now I must leave you. Harvest time is at hand.
They took her that way, Hercules, toward the palace.
Isis, hang on! We'll get you out of there! Wait, Pegasus. Strength doesn't always solve a problem. Lend me your amulet.
My thanks to you all. The evil sorcerer Toth plans to take over the whole Nile Valley with his plant soldiers. We have to stop him.
Isis, we're too late. Toth has harvested his crop of plant soldiers.
Hercules, you and King Ross try to head them off.
Right, Isis.
Meanwhile, I have some magic to undo.
What a day for battle! Onward, soldiers, faster!
The only battle you'll have, Toth, is with me!
And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them,
Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us.
And the Philistines said,
I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together.
When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son,
Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren. And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000. And look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge.
Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said,
Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up, and it shall be, that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.
And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying,
What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?
And the people answered him after this manner, saying,
So shall it be done to the man that killeth him.
And Eliab his eldest brother heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said,
Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle.
And David said,
What have I now done? Is there not a cause?
And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul,
Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine.
And Saul said to David,
Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth.
And David said unto Saul,
Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God.
David said moreover,
The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine.
And Saul said unto David,
Go, and the Lord be with thee.
And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul,
I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them.
And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistines said unto David,
Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves?
And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David,
Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field.
Then said David to the Philistine,
Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands.
And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran, and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted, and pursued the Philistines, until thou come to the valley, and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Shaaraim, even unto Gath, and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine, and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host,
Abner, whose son is this youth?
And Abner said,
As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell.
And the king said,
Inquire thou whose son the stripling is.
And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him,
Whose son art thou, thou young man?
And David answered,
I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite.
So we get the first mention of Goliath in 1 Samuel 17, verse 4. And notice how Goliath is called a champion. That word champion is mentioned 3 times in the Word of God. And all 3 times is found here in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now, champion in Hebrew means benayim, which means an interval or a double interval and a space between. So it tells me that there is a double interval, there is a time interval or a space in time between Goliath and the people of God. So God tells us to count the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now Goliath is mentioned 6 times, and his height was 6 cubits in a span. And then 1 Samuel 17 verse 7 says that his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. So why is he 6 cubits? Well, it's interesting because Daniel 3:1 says Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. And if you haven't seen that video I made, the plain of Dura, go and watch that to get more understanding. Now, just like 1 Samuel 17 verse 1 says the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and we know that there is this valley between them in verse 3, this valley of Ai, so does Nebuchadnezzar set up this image that is 66 cubits in the plain of Dura, And he sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. I think these represent this man that bare the shield that went before Goliath. They are in the forefront of this giant, and they are dedicated to this image of the beast, to this giant. And they truly are dedicated to artificial intelligence. Now, to be dedicated is to be devoted wholly to something, to give your time and energy to something. But I find this definition here very interesting. To dedicate means to set apart and consecrate to a deity or to a sacred purpose. So a deity is a god. Why do you think that they are so dedicated to AI? Because they are dedicated to this image of the beast, to their god. Lucifer, Satan, the god of this world. Here are a couple of the more known faces that are defending this giant, that are dedicated to this image of the beast. To the very left, we get Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, of course, and Meta AI. In the middle, we get Sam Altman, which is the founder of OpenAI. And on the very right-handed side, we get Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO at Google. So think of Gemini AI, and heck, he's even got AI in his name, Sundar Pichai AI. And of course, we got Elon Musk, which if you haven't watched the video I made Memphis, go and check that out. Of course, Donald Trump, who's pushing artificial intelligence, trying to put a 10-year ban on actually regulating AI in this big, beautiful bill that he came out with. And then we get Mr. Amazon over here, Jeff Bezos, who has invested millions, if not billions of dollars in artificial intelligence through his firm, Bezos Expeditions. He has made several significant investments in AI companies, including a $72 million lead investment in AI data solutions company, Toloka, in May 2025, a $400 million investment in physical intelligence in November 2024, and participation in a $693 million funding round for AI chip startup 10Storent. Notice it has the number 10 in it, the 10 Kings, 10Storent, in December 2024. He also invested in Perplexity, an AI search company, and a $73.6 million Series B funding round as in January 2024. And additionally, Bezos has invested in Cobalt Metals, an AI-powered mining startup. So needless to say, he is for the dedication of this image. He is defending this giant. Here's a news article inside Amazon's new AI megacity building machine as powerful as human brain. And notice this says scroll down to read why some have been forced out of their homes by the project. I mean, I can't imagine. I feel so bad for these people in these homes. Look, it's right across. There's this just a little strip of trees from them in this huge AI database facility factory, whatever the heck you want to call it, and it is destroying the environment. So this 1,200 acre stretch of farmland, former cornfields in Indiana, is now Amazon's latest megabucks tech investment. And these are popping up all over the place. So in order to bury the fiber optic cables to connect the warehouses and install other buried infrastructure, Amazon had to pump water out of the wet ground nearby. According to one permit, the company pumped 2.2 million gallons of water per hour for 730 days. Think about that. 2.2 million gallons of water per hour for 730 straight days. The process known as dewatering is now being investigated as locals report wells drying up. So they're using up all the water. And you can imagine these people there in Indiana, they just were living out in the beautiful cornfields. And here Mr. Jeff Bezos comes and plants this big old AI factory on 1,200 acres, knocks down all the wildlife, and puts all of this technology and AI in these warehouses in these fiber optics, and they require so much energy and so much water that the houses nearby, their wells are literally going dry. They don't even have water. So you can imagine they probably feel like they're facing a giant and there's nothing that they can do. And everybody, just like before David came on the scene, they were terrified, they were afraid, and they didn't know what to do because Goliath. And the second mention of Goliath is 1 Samuel 17, verse 23. So think of how there's 23 pairs of chromosomes in human DNA. So there was something different about Goliath and his DNA. He was 6 cubits in a span. So think of Genesis 6, where the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and what was born? Giants. There you get your Goliath. They shall mingle themselves with the seed or the DNA of men. So think of Jude verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. And that phrase, great day, is mentioned exactly 5 times in the Word of God. So think again, David had 5 smooth stones that he kills Goliath with. Revelation 16:14, for they are the spirits of devils, working miracles which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. So again, we see this gathering together in 1 Samuel chapter 17. The Philistines gathered together, their armies to the battle, and they're all in this valley, and there's a valley between David and the children of Israel and Goliath, this giant, and the Philistines. Just like in Daniel chapter 3, we see this image Nebuchadnezzar is setting up in the plain of Dura, and he is gathering together all of these captains, princes, counselors, sheriffs, etc. So just know what they're releasing on this earth with artificial intelligence. Revelation 9:14 says, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. So there's a specific time, this valley of time, that separates us from this giant. And at the end of this interval, these angels, these spirits, will be loosed on the earth. And I believe that they are doing it by artificial intelligence. Now, Goliath in the Hebrew means exile. Exile is only mentioned 2 times in the Word of God, which is 2 Samuel 15, verse 19. Then said the king to Ittai the Gittite, wherefore goest thou also with us? Return to thy place and abide with the king, for thou art a stranger and also in exile. So notice, even in Ittai's name, you get AI. And then also Isaiah 51, verse 14. The captive exile hasteneth that he may be loosed, and that he should not die in the pit, nor that his bread should fail. Now this is Revelation 20. We see this angel coming down from heaven. He has a key to this bottomless pit and a great chain, chain, in his hand. And he lays hold on the dragon. He casts him in for 1,000 years, binding him for 1,000 years. And then we see when this 1,000 years is fulfilled, after that he must be loosed a little season. Now this is what Jude 1 verse 6 is talking about. These angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Great day being mentioned 5 times. David with the 5 smooth stones. And he is loosing these stones, or releasing these stones, and it is directly connected to the head of Goliath. So these angels that left their own habitation, they have been exiled out of heaven. To exile means the state of being barred from one's native country. To expel and bar someone from their native country. So hence why he is being bound in this bottomless pit for 1,000 years. All right, moving along, we get the third mention of Goliath, 1 Samuel 21, verse 9. And the priest said, "The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah, behold, it is here wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If thou wilt take that, take it, for there is no other save that here." And David said, "There is none like that, give it me." So remember, this sword, David used Goliath's own sword to cut off his head. So it's important we understand the significance of why David was cutting off Goliath's head. Right? They're trying to create this super mind with artificial intelligence. The fourth mention is 1 Samuel 22, 9 through 10. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, "I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech the son of Ahitub, and he inquired of the Lord for him, and gave him victuals, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine." So I'm already at 40 minutes. For sake of time, I'm not going to go into detail about this sword, but you guys let me know in the comment section what you think this sword represents, this sword of Goliath. The fifth mention, 2 Samuel 21, 19 through 20. And there was again a battle in Gob with the Philistines, where Elhanan the son of Jehoram, or however you say that, of Bethlehemite, slew the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the staff of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature, that had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number. And he also was born to the giant. Now I was going to talk about the weaver's beam, but again, for sake of time, emphasis on time, because that's what the weaver's beam ties into, is time. Job talks about this weaver's beam, and in the word he says that they weave networks. All right, so this weaver's beam is significant. Also, it's interesting, they had 6 fingers on every hand and 6 fingers on every foot, so that would be 24 in total. So what's interesting is the only other mention of 24 takes you to Revelation, and it takes you to the 24 elders, right? So that's interesting. How is this giant, Goliath, connected with the 24 elders? How are these giants connected with the elders in Revelation? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe I'll look into that in the future, Lord willing. But how does the number 24 tie into artificial intelligence? That's the question that's going through my mind right now. 24 in artificial intelligence. Well, I guess on the subject of time, I think of there's 24 hours in the day. But besides that, I can't think of anything right now. Let me know what you guys think. And then we get the 6th mention, which is 1 Chronicles 20, verse 5, starting in verse 4. And it came to pass after this, that there arose war at Gezer with the Philistines, at which time Sibbecai, notice AI's in that too, the Hushathite, slew Sip-Ai, there's another AI, that was of the children of the giant, and they were subdued. And there was war again with the Philistines. And Elhanan, the son of Jair, there's another AI, slew Lami, these names, folks, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, whose spear staff was like a weaver's beam. So again, Goliath is connected with this weaver's beam. So I've only just scratched the surface of this subject of Goliath and the giants, right? If you type in giants, right, you're going to find all these sermons talking about facing your giants, and it's just talking about, you know, the giants we face in our life. And, you know, there's some truth to that. There are some obstacles and trials and tribulations that we're going to have to go through in this life. But I hope you can see with this video that Goliath is mentioned 6 times. We're counting the number of the beast, it's the number of a man, and this isn't just any ordinary man. This ties into artificial intelligence.